To
Hey, we're
start your
going
life
live.
the way it is meant to be. There's only one time when it will be too late, and you don't want to wait for that. This is Now or Never. The choice is yours. Your host is Karen Wright. Today, you're about to meet some amazing people. The stories are not always happy ones, but they define a healing process. Listen with an open mind and an open heart. Now, here is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome today. It is June 29th. We're like halfway through the year. I don't know what happened in 2022, but it has been a crazy, crazy year. I'm so excited about today's guest, Darci Williams. How are you doing today?
Oh, great, Karen. Thank you so much for having me.
So excited to have Darci. Our whole theme today is, do you want to live wholeheartedly? Are you living wholeheartedly? What does it look like to live that way? Can you design your own life that way? Today, Darci, who is a life coach and has had passion for helping other people answer these very questions. She's an expert on what she does in transforming lives, not only in the business world, but also as a personal one-on-one coach. So Darci, I am so excited to have you here today. And as we go into this whole new episode for today, I would love you just for a second to introduce yourself to my guest. Before we go into the grounding and all that, I just feel like right now is the time I need to do this with you. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
Great.
So I'm super excited to be here, first of all. My name is Darci Williams. I had the great pleasure of meeting Karen, several weeks, maybe months ago now in the beautiful city of Savannah, Georgia, and just like fell in love, like all of you have, with her energy. And, you know, she's just such a beautiful person inside and out. So the opportunity to be a part of this is just brings a big smile to my heart. A little bit about me. So I am based in Columbus, Ohio, where it is a beautiful day today. It's like 75 and sunny. It's just totally picturesque. I live here with my two sons. So I've got a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. So two little boys. The little boy energy is very big in my house. We call our sons the tiny tornadoes, because everywhere they go like 100 mph and just totally leave a path of destruction in their wake. And then my husband of 13 years, Spencer, who is just the best. Really fortunate to have a great equal 50-50 partner and cheerleader in my life. So that's a little bit about me on the personal side of things. From a professional standpoint, I am a certified coach. So ICF, International Coaching Federation certified. And I also have a certification in a program called Designing Your Life, which Karen, of course, mentioned, which I'll explain as we kind of get into my story, why that program in particular is near and dear to my heart.
I can't wait to hear about that. So listeners, as we begin the show, I just want us to get grounded for a moment. So as always, I invite you to close your eyes and cross your legs. And just taking a deep breath in through your nose, all the way down to your abdominals and out through your mouth. Take a deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. Bring your hands up over your shoulders like you're giving yourself a big hug. In fact, give yourself a big hug. Squeeze yourself so tight. And then I would invite you to repeat this affirmation. I am worthy of my love. 3 times to yourself. I am worthy of my love. I am worthy of my love. I am worthy of my love. Another deep breath in. And releasing. And then tapping 3 times on your chest, repeating the word accept. Accept, accept, accept. Another deep breath in. Allowing any stress that is tied up in your body to release. Allowing it to go up into the heavens. And one more deep breath in. And releasing. Listeners, I hope that you took this time just to get grounded, putting the ego behind, as always for my show, leaning in with your heart, and opening up to suggestions, to ideas, new thoughts, new processes that maybe you have not thought about. My next thing, I love my affirmations, and this is where I always invite you to get your pen and paper out, write these affirmations down. And those that know me know I have them all over my windows, all over my doors. I have these sliding closet doors where I can write on them. They're like like some kind of glass, I don't know, like plastic glass, whatever you call that. And I spray painted them this white color. Anyway, so I write my affirmations all over the board. So they're all over. So of course, always do this. And as I read the affirmation out, I'm really excited because I have my new affirmation cards and now affirmations. And I invite my guest, Darci, as I read today, 2 of them popped out. So we get to share a little bit. But the first affirmation is simplicity is not a bad thing. Simplicity is not a bad thing. So when I read that to you, what's your thought process with that one? Simplicity is not a bad thing.
Oh, so this has been, for me, a big kind of learning journey. I love to do all of the things, right? I love variety. I like to kind of have my hand in a lot of different pots. And the really powerful question I have had to ask myself over the last couple of years is, if you say yes to this, what are you saying no to? Because in trying to do all of the things, I was just running myself into the ground, and I was spreading the peanut butter super thin and just not being able to give my full attention and focus and heart to the things that I wanted to give it to the most. So simplicity to me is about choosing what are you going to do and being really, really discerning with that so that you're only doing what only you can do.
I love that. And that's the thing, like there's good things and then there's better things, right? And then there's the best. And so it's organizing what is going to be the best for personally yourself, your family, and the rippling effect, how it ripples out for everyone else. When you throw that little pebble in, it spreads and spreads. And I think that I love your answer because it is so true. It's not like it's good or bad. It's just, there's some good things and then there's some better things of using your time and how you want to do it.
Yeah.
So
it's funny, Karen, I'll add, as we're talking about wholeheartedness today, right? And for me, and I'll tell my story here in a bit, but my wholehearted journey was about hustling. It was about trying to do all of the things in part so that I could prove to the world that I could, right? In part so that I could gain this external validation by doing these achievement type of activities. And so the other question I've had to start asking myself along this simplicity line is, or saying to myself rather, affirmation is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right. And giving myself that validation that, you know what, I know that I could go after that thing. I know that I could crush it. I don't need anybody else to see it. I don't need anybody else to acknowledge it. I don't need anybody else to say anything to me about it. I know that I could. It doesn't mean that I should.
That's so important. I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. And my second affirmation is, I am ever expanding. I am ever expanding. Look how that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
What is that? When I read that, you're like, your eyes got really big, listeners. Darci's eyes are like, I'm ever expanding.
I just love it so much because, the opposite of ever expanding is making yourself really small, right? Telling yourself that you don't belong in the rooms that you're in, that you don't belong in the circles that you're in, right? Whatever that is. And so you shrink up. You try to be really quiet, you know, to not attract too much attention or what have you.
Mhm.
And so for me, being ever expanding is about owning my wholeness. It's about loving myself. It's about knowing that I am worthy of that love and belonging in any room that I am in. And I can just show up in all of my awesomeness, right? Just in all of my meanness, and not be afraid to be seen.
I love that. And listeners, I hope you take this into heart what Darci is saying, because she's a powerhouse, first of all. And simplicity is not a bad thing. I think, like what Darci said, moving around, trying to do everything, you know, in life, it's all about you as a person and what makes you. And that expanding, sometimes when you get so overwhelmed, you can't expand. You're like shrinking, you know? And like what Darci said, I loved it. When you walk into the room, expand, be that person you are. You are all so beautiful inside and out, and you're all powerhouses. And you need to know that from within and trust that intuition that you have. Darci, we talked a little bit about our theme today about living your life wholeheartedly. And I know you've been on a journey of wholeheartedness. Is that a word? Wholeheartedness. And I would love you, before we go into our first commercial break, introduce a little bit about your journey, about Darci and how she became who she is today. And we might not have time to go through all that. So if I cut you off, don't be offended. Just, I'm going to be like, we got to go in a break.
Yeah, I love it. Leave them wanting more, right?
Right?
Okay, so I'll start off by saying, you know, I, like many of your listeners, I'm sure, I know, like you, am a high achieving individual, right? Like I am somebody who, like, I've got the heart of an underdog, frankly. You know, I love a good challenge. I love somebody to tell me, like, you can't do that. It can't be done. Because I'm going to blow through doors to make that happen. And that drive has served me very well in a lot of regards throughout my life, throughout my career. You know, frankly, it helped me to climb the corporate ladder pretty early on in my career. I was pretty used to being kind of a top performer, being on a fast track promotion wise, all of those things. And that felt awesome on an outside level, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For a while. The problem was, if you tapped beyond that outside level, past that veneer, right, of like, Darci is a rock star, she's going to crush it, she's going to, you know, whatever it is. I was a house of cards inside, right? Any bit of critical feedback, which could be well-intentioned, very honest, you know, all of those things, it was soul crushing to me. And it was because work was my full identity. I was hustling for my worthiness. I was hustling for my worth. And I believed that all of that was external. It was all based on, what's my title? It was all based on, how much money am I making? It was based on, how much does my boss value me, right? Am I their right hand? Because if I could do that, then I felt, again, worthy.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I could justify, you know, my being in the rooms that I was in, or whatever it was. And that's not sustainable.
No.
Right?
It's not. We talk about, and I love that fact that we're doing labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want it, there's so much, and I talk about labels a lot with retreats and things like that. It's like, what are your labels? You know, so you're a CEO, you're the highest paying employee, you're XY, you know, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a daughter, all the outside labels that come upon you, right? And all of a sudden, when you're in the career field, you're feeling like, I need to achieve, I need to be the best I can be. Plus, society has made us that way, especially as women in the workforce. We have to prove, we have this thought that we have to prove ourselves worthy to be equal possibly to the male role model, the rails, the males that we're working with. And that is a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. And the problem with those labels is, and especially when they don't come from a place of like wholeheartedness, right? Knowing yourself, like knowing that you're worthy of love and belonging, all of those things, is what happens when that label like doesn't feel like it fits, even for a moment, right? If I am a top performer, right? And that's the label that I've put on myself, right? Or somebody else has put on me. And then I get feedback that puts that in question. Then all of a sudden for me, it's like, well, if I'm not that, then what am I?
Right.
And as you can just about imagine, right? For me, all of that would lead to like a total breakdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which at the time, and I'll tell more about the story, but at the time felt like the worst thing that had ever happened. But now, of course, I know looking back, it's like, man, that was the best thing that could have ever happened. That breakdown of, oh my gosh, now I'm questioning everything because the label no longer fits. And I don't know what I am if I don't have that label. I had to start from scratch.
Yeah. And I think, I know this is my past shows, a lot of my guests, you reach your depths, the darkest hours, the darkest nights, right? And through those times, that's when you find that glimpse of light from within, not outside, but from within, that sets the motion moving, going, what am I? Who am I? If I'm not this high performer in this business world, what is my worth?
Yeah.
And that's when, as an individual, you have to deep dive to really figure it out. And here's the beauty of it. You have to do it on your own.
Yeah.
You have support. I mean, Darci, your coach, you help people go through it. You give them tools,
yeah,
right? Which you're going to share throughout the show, but there's more to it. Where's at that as an individual? How can you move forward? Listeners, I hope that as we continue through this next segment of the show, that you step into what we're talking about right now. What are the labels that you have put on yourself? What are the labels others have put onto yourself? What happens if we rip those labels off? Where are you at? I want you during this break, do a little soul searching. You've got 2 minutes to soul search. And then we'll be back with Darci right after this break. Thanks.
All right, nicely done. We're all clear. Back in 2.
Hey, thanks. I'm like tongue-tied.
I loved it.
I get that all the time. Okay. How you feeling?
Great.
Good.
You?
I'm always good. I just love listening to what you had to say, and I'll like pipe in every now and then, but yeah, I think this is good. So when we come back, we're going to go into your deep dark nights. How's that? And we'll go from there and move forward.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
That'll be good. Okay. Also, I got my cards. So here's the thing with my affirmation cards. So these are like bigger ones, like 5x7s. And I felt like they were too big. And so I got smaller ones. They're 3x5s. So they fit my hand more and they like shuffle up. What are your thoughts? Would you want the bigger ones or the smaller ones?
I totally can see what you mean by like the playing card size, right? It's just a little bit easier in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
My knee jerk though is the big cards.
Okay.
Right. Because it's supposed to be like a big thing that you should be receiving and, reflecting on. So I feel like I could go either way, but my initial thought is go big.
Okay. That'd be good. Yeah. I'm really excited about them. Like, I'm just like, I'm going to tap this on me now.
I love that. Are you really going to do that?
Yeah. I mean, that's my logo now.
Yeah.
Everything is now. And it's like the time, that's like an hourglass. Yeah. So now is the time to do this. So
I love that. I can't wait to see it.
I'm going to put it on my head forward now.
On your neck.
We're coming back in about 12 seconds.
Okay. Thanks.
channel, voiceamericaempowerment.com.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back. As we go into this next segment, it is sponsored by Now or Never, Shine Baby Shine. This book is an international bestseller. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart, wherever you want. And it's now on Audible. And I'm so excited to share that to my listeners all the time. It's my life story, my memoir about ups and downs, the darkest hours that I went through, and being very vulnerable and raw. And before we went into break, Darci was talking a little bit about during these times of labels and expectations that have been placed on her. She went into a time in her life where things were a little bit darker, where she had to do some soul searching. And as we, Darci, I always invite my guests to listen, to speak with their heart, because it's all about connecting to the listeners. And as you share this part of the story with my listeners, I hope that you feel Darci's passion, that you feel that, you know what, even through our darkest hours, there's still hope. And Darci's going to share a little bit about that with us now.
Okay. So yeah, to pick up on, just before the breakdown for me, I was coming out of another season of hustling, right? I was coming out of another season of, I've got a leader. I've got to prove to him that I am awesome. I've got to become his right hand. I've got to, get the next promotion. And something really interesting happened. He actually told me, he's like, I'm leaving the organization. And he said, I want to help position you for whatever's next, which was great, right? That's wonderful. And he offered me a couple of different paths to consider. And I was like, I don't know. I'd never really been in that position, right? I'd always just reported to the leader who they had a vested interest, right, in my career and in my progression, because it was going to help them. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, I was like, gosh, I don't really know which of these paths speak to me. And he asked me what has become one of the most pivotal questions in my career. And it's such a simple question, but man, it's so powerful. And I would just have everybody write this down. He just said, Darci, what do you want? And I was like, I have no idea. I could not answer that question. I had no idea what I wanted. I had been so just in this current, right, of my life where I was just doing the next thing because somebody told me I should, or whatever. I had no idea what I wanted. And I floundered. And I think I disappointed him, frankly. Not being able to answer that question was different than the Darci that he had come to know, who was hustler, who was bold, who was decisive, who was all of these things. And I was able to do those things, right, because it was all external to me. But when he asked me this very personal question, what do you want? I had never spent any time really looking within. So the season would I would go on to, again, probably lose a lot of respect from him, really end up having a bit of a crisis of identity. And for me, a big part of the reason for that was there was big pockets of my life that I had been completely ignoring, right? My childhood was full of trauma, just full of trauma. And frankly, I had worn the fact that I had survived that some sort of a badge of honor. and knowing that I had like, quote unquote, overcome that, right? Like I used that to be a driving force. I used that to fuel that heart of an underdog, right? To do these things that nobody like before in my family had done. And like I said, that served me well on some regards, but it's never gonna serve you well to completely ignore these huge parts of your story. And so for me, I had to go all the way back. I had to, get a good therapist, right? I had to get some good tools. And I really had to, one, look at the trauma that I had survived, right? Be willing to face it. I had to start a healing journey through that, which, I continue to be on to this day, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was able to start putting those like first foundational building blocks there, right? Of healing and just starting to own my story that I was then able to say, okay, your story like is who you are. It's okay to own that. It's okay to love yourself, even through that. And now it's okay and it's safe to say, who am I? What do I love? Right? And get to know yourself.
Yeah. I love that. We all have a past. We all were children. We all had trauma. And being able in our 30s, 40s, 50s down the road, all of a sudden we're like, cans of worms open up. We can shut them down for a while, and then all of a sudden everything explodes. And those 4 words, what do you want, opened up a whole new world for you. You went inside dealing with past things, you hurt, pain that were caused to you as a little girl, and continue to harbor that, hold on to it. But through all of we all have our stuff, right? And through all of everything that we experience, it makes us who we are today. But being aware like you're doing, and I know through your coaching, you've done this also, you help your clients find out what they've been through, being able to help them come to terms with it and find the person they are inside. So what happened when you found Darci, when you found you?
Yeah, it was so beautiful, right? Because I was able to like look back and say, okay, the things that I've done that I supposedly loved, what was it about those things? What do you really, Darci, what do you really love when there's not a paycheck attached to it, right? When there's not whatever attached to it, what do you love? And for me, I came to realize I love connecting with people one-on-one. I love listening to people. I love really hearing not only what they're saying, but what they're not saying, and helping them to really identify what do they want? What do they need? What are their motivators? Right. And it's not lost on me, right, that I was able to identify that I love doing that for other people, and I had never done that for myself. Right. So that's not lost on me. And that's been a really cool part of this journey with me for coaching, right? Is you kind of have to do this work to do this work. Right.
Yeah. No, you have to.
Yeah. So if anybody out there is looking for a coach, and you're wondering what questions you should ask them what they've done, right, for their own little healing journey. Ask them, what journey they have been on. Because it's only from a place of living through that yourself that you're really able to hold that space for other people who need it for, where they're at on their journey. So that's how I found coaching. And once it clicked, it just totally clicked. And I, went all in, dove into getting certified with it. And that's been, several years now that I've been doing that. The other thing that I came to learn is I do love a good transformation, right? I do love a good turnaround. So in addition to the coaching, I also got into like innovation consulting, which is pretty cool, right? Leading teams through, problem solving. which, I'll tie into designing your life once we get to that in a moment, because that was really cool. The way that the universe put both of those things on my radar and then, brought them together with designing your life. But so those are the things that I learned. The other thing that I learned is my superpower, if you will, right? And I would encourage everybody to really think about, like, what is your superpower? What's that thing? What's that gift that you have? My superpower is like just the energy that I bring into the room, right? My superpower is just like me, raw, natural, unfiltered. It's this energy that you're experiencing from me today, right? I just have a lot of optimism. I have I talk with a lot of hand gestures, right? So once I was able to realize that wasn't like a show that I put on, that's genuinely just me at my core, then I was able to start asking myself, okay, what are the things that are getting in the way of you fully showing up in that superpower? Which then took me down a whole other path of like wellness, right? Because for me, what was getting in my way of showing up like in all of my energy? If I had like yes, just me and getting
Self-sabotaging.
Yes, self-sabotage. But there was also like things that I was consuming, right? Like alcohol, right? Even just having like one drink the night before a big meeting, I would show up and I would be a little bit more fuzzy headed. Right. I just didn't feel like I wasn't as sharp. Heaven forbid I had 2 drinks. I was like going to be full of shame, right? Like I was going to feel embarrassed. I was going to feel like I needed to shrink down. And so I had to go down a path of like, what are the things, that I'm consuming that might be getting in my way? And then on the flip side, right, how can I be like taking care of myself, the best that I can, so that I can be showing up in my wholeness, every day? Because at the end of the day, as long as I'm doing that, well, then I have fulfilled my purpose in this world, right? As long as I can just show up for whatever conversations I'm supposed to be in today, and I can be wholehearted with them, say, whatever is mine to say, listen to whatever is in the room to be heard, then I've done my deed for the day, right? That's all I need. And I can get my internal validation from that.
I think that's really important because, me, nature, I love being out in nature and hiking and doing things. And I'm always talking to God, and I ask him, let me be of service to others. Let me be a vessel in his hands to help other people. Whatever that looks like, I never know. I mean, but it's just putting it out there, putting that energy out there, understanding it's not about me, it's about helping other people.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
No, go ahead. You've got something I want to hear.
Well, I was just going to say, like, before every coaching session I do, I'm praying, right? I'm just saying, like, God, whatever you want me to hear, give me ears to hear. Whatever words you want me to offer, give me those words, right? Even in coaching sessions, right? Like, one of the reasons I love coaching so much is I feel so connected, right? To who I call God, right? And I think that we, in this world, we call that a lot of different things.
Right.
But like, it's not about me. It's never about me in coaching sessions, right? It's always about that person. And frankly, it's about what words am I being offered to help that person at wherever they're at in their journey.
I love, the first time I met you, we connected, that whole group, we connected. We end up calling ourselves the Raging Horses? I had to say that because I'm like going, oh my gosh, that was so funny. Anyway, the Savannah girls, there was a connection there that was unbelievable. All walks of life, and meeting each other and learning and growing as we did for that retreat. We went on this beautiful retreat, but there's something, about the energy that you walk into the room, you felt it. I felt it. And being aware, you're very intuitive, which to me is a gift, because not all of us know that or feel that. And I think being able to read the room, be intuitive, and once again, you're strong, confident, knowing who you are as an individual. You are enough. You are there for all of us, right? But especially for yourself. And once you feel that, you can radiate. I'm a light beam, right? I radiate light. That's my purpose. I just, here I am, carrier of light. And I know my purpose. That is who I am. I am a light. You are energy. Together, that power in the room, plus the other energy and the lights from the other women were absolutely incredible. When you walk into a room, Darci, how do you kind of scope it? How do you feel like the energy? Because I know I feel energy when I walk into a room.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk into a group of people, like into a teamwork, right? You're working with the team members, okay? And I'm sure you can read the room pretty quick. And when you feel the negative energy, do you focus in on that energy and helping that person lift them up so the frequency is more even when you're getting ready to coach? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So the first thing I'll say is, when I walk into a room and I'm meeting a group of new people, while I try to be really aware of, what my intuition may be telling me, I also try to make sure I stay super curious, right? I try to make sure that I don't assume that I know anything. And so for me, it's about asking a lot of questions to really get to know, who all's in the room, what makes them tick, like what's really happening. Because, to answer the second part of your question, as far as like, do you use your energy to try to lift other people? I think in general, in this world, I think that's part of, my calling. However, I think when it comes to coaching, it's actually less about that. It's more about meeting them where they are, right? Making sure that they feel really safe right where they're at, because they're right where they're supposed to be. But then knowing that they do have an advocate, knowing that they do have an ally, knowing that they do have, a safe space to question, maybe some of the things that are keeping them in that space, and to know that they have the permission to evolve from that space when they're ready. So that's how I try to use those gifts.
I appreciate the fact you brought that out, because we're all exactly where we're supposed to be at this time in our lives. And so you respecting the person's energy or where they're at and knowing where they're at, I love that. Because that's where you start where they're at. And then together you move forward, you move up. And I appreciate you sharing that, because that is really important when you walk into a room, feeling that, knowing, because you don't want resentment. And I love you're very good at asking questions, getting to know someone. I noticed that first off when we met, and our little one-on-ones when we would go walking or whatever, we like talking to each other. What about this? What about that? Just like reading each other, learning about each other, and growing together. And I think it's really important. Listeners, we're going to go into break right now. And as we come back, we're going to deep dive a little bit into the coaching world of Darci and what she loves and her takeaways with everything that she's learning in her life is coaching with the team and one-on-one coaching. So we'll be right back after this break.
Okay, great. We're all clear.
Hey, thanks, Matt. How you doing? I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You feeling good about this so far?
Yeah. Do you feel like we're covering everything you want to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I'm speaking from the heart, right? So I just believe that like whoever's supposed to hear this, like, that's what it's for.
I love it. I love it. So when we go back, we want to go into a little bit of, you have your word for now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that when we go into it, and then go into like your coaching?
Yep.
About the whole heart, what it takes. You haven't, you kind of outlined some stuff about that.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. Les Brene Brown. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Babes, you're a powerhouse. Yeah. All this is good. You're doing good. You make me look good.
You make yourself look good, but thank you for saying that.
It's crazy. It's like, I look forward to these shows every week because I feel like it fills my cup up.
Yeah.
You know, it just helps being able to have that one-on-one conversation, sometimes harder conversations, lighthearted conversations, whatever they are. But this is, my soul needs it. And I thirst for it. And so I love this part of what I do, my little side hobby.
I love it too. Someday I want to pick your brain some more on how you like got into this, right? In addition to, the other things that you've got in your world. I find it so fascinating. You're so great at it. So
Well, thank
10
you.
seconds.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back. We have been speaking with Darci Williams, who is a coach, one-on-one and team coach for businesses in the business world. And our whole theme today is talking about wholeheartedly. What does that look like for you as an individual? And when we were right before break, we were talking about some things about walking to a room, filling out a room. Darci had this question: what is your superpower? And I love that. And hers is energy. And we talked about her energy when she goes into the room and reading the room, asking questions, her becoming involved with the people, understanding where they're at and recognizing that. And from there, helping them move up and forward to where they need to be. She has 2 words that she loves. And now or never, you guys know me, my now, I'm all about now, living in today, into this moment. And Darci's favorite word is for now, for now. What brought you to that? Why just those 2 words?
I love these 2 words so much because we can spend so much of our time. I know I am guilty of this, like really like over analyzing, where am I trying to go? Is that the right, like ultimate thing that I'm supposed to become? Right. And like really like feeling frozen in the moment that we're in, because we don't know like the ultimate goal. We don't know the ultimate place we're trying to go to. And so for me, I found so much freedom in those 2 words, for now. Because it gave me the space that I needed to just be fully present, right? To be fully in this moment without thinking too much about, what's the end all goal. And I'll tell you, Karen, when this started for me was the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I mentioned I've got 2 little boys, right? And, like the whole world, schools shut down, and we were all scrambling, trying to figure out like what's childcare look like, what's school going to look like, all of these things. And man, it was hard enough in the spring, but it was even harder, I would say, for me in the fall when schools were trying to open back up. Because at least in my world, what was happening is the school would put a plan in place. Be like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do hybrid model Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so I would scramble and I would get like a plan all together. And then like the next day I'd be like, just kidding, we're going to be completely remote. And I'd be like, right. And so you'd scramble and you put a new plan in place. And so I was making myself crazy trying to figure out like, these big solutions. And eventually I just had to say, okay, so for now, this is the plan. For now, this is what we're doing. And the path for next, the path for the future, that will all reveal itself as it's supposed to, right? So those 2 words for me, for now, for me, it's a little bit of, trust. It's a little bit of faith, right? That things will reveal themselves over time. And then it's a little bit of just permission for me to just live fully in the moment that I'm in for now, because I can change it up. I can do something different next if that's what the path reveals.
I appreciate that because I mean, when I lost my daughter, I mean, life changed in a heartbeat. And all these plans I had for her, for my kids, of this, of that, for our life, our family together was changed, different, no longer the same. And so the now for me, that's where that came, into my life, is live for the moment, live now, because God, letting go, let go, let God. That's something, it's on my wall in my bathroom, let go, let God, because we think we're in control, but at the end of the day, we're not. There's a higher being, whatever you believe in, that is control. Yes, I believe we've helped plan our life out. We have the roadmap and we were part of that plan. But as we cross through this life, through the veil, that, we forget as a soul, what we're here for, our purpose. And that's why we're here, is to figure it out, and the importance of that. And I just think it's so, you're open your heart, you're wholehearted to, for now, this is the plan for now, and things are going to change. We have no control over that. But it's how, attitude of gratitude, how your attitude is about the change. You know what? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad there is a change. How boring life would be, right?
Right.
And it's like learning to just kind of roll with the flow and be spontaneous and go with it. And I love that. And you talk about, you have some what it takes in your coaching experiences. Self-exploration, self-care, intentional, like these are like some powerful words I see that you have written down that I would love you to share before we go into closing. Can you believe the hour's almost up? Oh my gosh.
I know, it's gone so fast.
Quick. So I want to make sure we touch everything.
Yeah. So I would just offer, for anybody who's listening and, just kind of, curious about their own wholehearted journey and how do you get started? I think that there's a couple of big questions that I would just encourage you to ask yourself, right? The first one is all about intentionality, right? And that's, what do you want? Right? That question that caused me to have a breakdown. Hopefully it won't for you, but maybe it will. And maybe like for me, it will be the most powerful thing that ever happens to you, right? But ask yourself, what do you want? Not what does mom think you should do, not what does, your husband think you like, not the shoulds of this world, but you, what do you want? Right. And kind of going deep on that. I would start there. You have to do the self-exploration. Who am I? What do I love? And some of that, again, from, at least from my story, may take some healing. It may take, some extra work. And I'm a huge advocate. I'm a huge fan of therapy. And so if, there's a healing journey that you need to go on, like, don't be afraid to take advantage of those resources. I always say, like, coaching is kind of like therapy. It's akin. It feels similar. I have coaches tell me all the time, like, this feels like therapy. That's great. I love that. But there are certain things that, like, coaches just aren't equipped, right? Like, no coach should be working with you on, like, really trauma, right? And some of that, like, deep rooted hurts that you may be carrying, that's for a therapist. So just quick plug there. And then self-care, right? Once you go through that, it's going to be a lot of unearthing, these steps of, who am I? What do I want? What do I love? So when you're going through these seasons of figuring that out, like, you got to take care of yourself. And I feel like self-care, a lot of times people just, like, they hear massage and pedicure, and hey, maybe for you that is self-care. And I say, more power to you, go for it. It also may mean, like, yoga. It also may mean getting really good sleep. There's so many things that self-care could mean. One of the most powerful, and I think most often, like, forgotten, is, like, self-compassion, right? How are you talking to yourself? It's so funny, the tapes that we play in our head, the things that we say to ourselves when we mess up. If you were to write that down and then read it and say, would you ever say this to someone you love? Would you ever say those words to your child, to your best friend, right? Why are we so hard on ourselves? Yeah. Right. And so start speaking to yourself like you would someone you love. That's so funny.
I love that. I have this quote written up on my wall. If I saw myself as God saw me, I would smile a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that goes hand in hand with what you're saying. It's like, speak kindly to yourself. I mean, I have no one around me. You know, my life is like, I got my dogs. I talk to my dogs all the time. I talk to the trees or whatever. You know, people are like, oh my gosh, Karen. But I have learned that talking out loud and being confident and going through stuff that I'm hurting and having compassion for myself. You know, last night, the 20th was a new moon. I feel the cycles, the new moon and the full moon. I feel me. I feel myself going through the stuff where sometimes I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I just am like not depressed, but going inward and just being and telling myself it's okay. You're fine, Karen. Today is another day.
Yeah.
And what happened yesterday is not what's happening today. For now, this is where you're at. Now is where you're at, right?
Yeah.
And I would love you, we have 4 minutes before we're ending the show. Please share your information. How can listeners get a hold of you?
Yeah. So my company is Wayfinding with Darci Williams, and that's Darci with an I. So you can find me at www.wayfindingwithdarci, Darci, Williams.com. You can also email me at Darci, Darci, at wayfindingwdw.com. Yeah. And then all of the regular channels, Instagram, Facebook,
all of it. So one word of advice that you can tell my listeners before, what would be the takeaway that you would give them today?
Yeah. I mean, it's just you are enough, right? There is no prerequisite that you need to achieve to be worthy of love and belonging. Like you, just as you are in your wholeness and your imperfections, like you are worthy of, all that, is meant for you. So I love the quote from Brene Brown: you can own your story or you can stand outside of it hustling for your worthiness. So I would just say, if there's anything that's getting in the way of you really being able to say those words, I am enough, and believing it, you might explore what's the work that maybe I can do on owning my story. And if that's something that I can help you with, or any part of your journey, I would be, so honored to do so.
I appreciate that so much. And I love that. I am enough. And we are perfect. We are perfect. God made each of us perfect. And sometimes we think we're not because we might have made a mistake, but who says it's a mistake, right? I mean, that's just the outside world coming in on us, right? And you need to say something. What is it?
One of my favorite quotes in the world is, there is no failure. You either win or you learn. Right. And so many times when we're beating ourselves up in our head, right? I made this mistake. I did this wrong. Instead, ask yourself, what did you learn? There is no failure. You either win or you learn.
I love that, because I don't believe there's right or wrong. I believe that we continue to learn. I call them adventures, right? There's things in our lives that have happened. Some we talked about this, but it's made us who we are today. And our choices have made us who we are today. And that to me is the beauty of our own personal life, our own personal journeys. Remember our 2 affirmations for today, listeners. Simplicity is not a bad thing, and I am ever expanding. Darci, thank you so much for joining us today. It was, loved it so much. The breath is a gift of life. Choose now and live. Remember, this world is not for sissies. We are each here to walk our own path as we each live our own experiences and write our own stories. Have an amazing day, and thank you for choosing to be here now. Until next week, sending you all love and light.
All right. Awesome show. All clear.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
All right. Well, you both have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, babes. You did great.
Thank you. That was awesome. That was fun.
That was really fun. I appreciate it so much. Such a good.
Are we still live on